This is where it all started. Dominating the fly zone, breaking every obstacles, fisting in the air, and the last shot to be remembered. The Black Jesus.
It's like he was like Black Jesus to me.
Yo, Mike, you mean Black Jesus?
I don't know what God looks like. It's like seeing God.
A definitive verb.
There's a reason you call somebody the Michael Jordan of.
Well, greatness isn't gifted, it's forged. Imagine facing rejection from your high school team.
When I got home and I told my mother I was cut, I was demoralized. I didn't want to play any more sports. I felt like, the coach didn't like me.
A broken foot keeping your dream hanging. Heartbreak, losing the ones who made you who you are. Scandals dragged into gambling.
Losing the game situation, whatever, just to get my mind away from the game of basketball. I couldn't go play golf, so I rode up there with my family and my friends.
A choice, basketball, baseball. Yet through it all, he refused to surrender.
Incident cleared by Buck Williams, up court pass stolen by Jordan. Michael Jordan in on Buck Williams, lays it in.
Whether a bull or a wizard, the final buzzer never defined him.
There are so many teams to choose from. The 91 Chicago Bulls, sorry Showtime. The 92 Bulls, back-to-back. 93 Bulls, first three-peat. 97 Bulls, even with the flu. 98 Bulls, no push-off. And my favorite, the 96 Chicago Bulls. 72 wins. Tough to beat that. What? You think there's someone else? Prove it.
Ladies and gents, welcome to the flight of a legend. Mike was born in 1963 in Brooklyn, New York. I mean, unlike many other successful figures in history, who they might usually have wealthy parents, Mike, in fact, came from a very humble family. His mother was a bank employee and his father was a supervisor, an equipment supervisor in General Electrics. I mean, they both had to work tirelessly in order to provide for the family. When Mike was around 5 years old, they decided to move to North Carolina, a place that soon would turn into the cornerstone of Mike's career. As Mike grew, he found himself drawn to basketball. I mean, he was really in love with basketball during his high school days, and he was really struggling to be that basketball player he's supposed to be because he was around 5.9. For you basketball fans, it is quite crystal clear that 5.9 is not a really tall height. And the fun fact here is, Mike was not a good basketball player during his high school days. In fact, he was a high school dropout of the team. That was very funny for me. But lucky for Mike, his parents knew him inside out, so they tried to really soothe him and try to talk to him. You're gonna be that successful figure one day. But the fun thing here, nobody back then could have ever envisioned Michael to be the greatest star of the whole basketball world. But after initial dark days of high school, he started to sprout. He turned into 6.2 and he could really manage to fit in that high school team at least.
I'm the tallest. My father's about 5'10", my mother's about 5'5".
Whoa.
Everyone else is about 5'6 and a half, 5'7". The milkman's about 6'7".
No. By the end of the high school years, he had a scholarship from the University of North Carolina, Chapel. He was really into studying cultural geography, so he was really into studying in the North Carolina Chapel too, so he accepted this scholarship, although he had numerous other scholarships from other colleges. But that was his decision. So, to be honest, I think the North Carolina Chapel University was so lucky to recruit a player like Michael Jordan in their team. And let's not forget that recruit was all reliant on his tremendous play of Michael Jordan during his high school days. I mean, his average score was 25 per game. Once he was recruited to the college team, Michael started to grind and push himself toward his barriers and limits. He tried to elevate his game, and this grind was really showing off into this particular game.
NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship, the largest crowd ever for a basketball game, an electric atmosphere.
The 44th NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. Well, in this game, there was only 30 seconds left on the clock, and Mike's team was behind by just 1 point. Everyone was holding their breath and biting their nails. They were about to lose at this kind of a championship. So, Mike did this. With just 30 seconds left on the clock, he did something amazing. A buzzer beater to remember. Ever since that game forward, Mike was turned from Mike to Michael. He gained that reputation and respect from everyone. He's not a Mike anymore, he's Michael Jordan.
I felt really good that I did something, to help out the whole team and maybe win the game. And I just felt very excited. And I hope in the next 3 years that I'm here to win at least 2 or 3 more.
It is now 1984, and Jordan is 19 years old.
The USA Network presents the 1984 NBA College Draft.
After numerous consultation with his coach and other professionals, he was convinced to join the NBA draft. Due to his tremendous play down the road of his career path, he was expected to be drafted in the first round. That year, Houston Rocket was the first pick, followed by Portland Trailblazers, and in the third pick, there was Chicago Bulls. Let's see what happened. Houston Rocket selected Hakeem Olajuwon, a 6.9 tall center. Alright, that's a done deal. In the second pick, Portland decided that they already have a guard, so they do not need a guard anymore. As a result, they decided to choose a center. So they selected Sam Bowie, a 7.1 tall center from University of Kentucky. And the third pick, the almighty Michael Jordan, was picked.
The Chicago Bulls pick Michael Jordan.
And the third pick of the first round, the almighty 23. Michael Jordan was drafted by Chicago Bulls. Fun fact here, little did Chicago Bulls know back then that they have just signed a contract with a player who's going to leave his mark in the history of the NBA. So I think it's a loss for the first 2 picks.
Hopefully, I can go in and contribute and maybe turn it around. I'm looking forward to it.
Michael was so fortunate because as soon as he got drafted, the Olympic Games of 1984 were going to be held in California. So, Michael, he really put it on the shoulder. After those Olympic Games, everyone throughout the world knew who young MJ is, and for sure, the USA team won a gold medal. But during the Olympic event, something unique happened. Co Renmister, who is a famous photographer, decided to take a picture of Michael performing his Jumpman dunk, which is currently known to be the logo of the Air Jordan brand. Well, obviously, Michael was not among the starting lineups since he was a rookie, but he was really pushing himself and trying to show everyone his power. And soon, everyone down in the gym and club realized this guy is special, so they started to rely on him more often. But after one particular game, Michael transformed from 6-man into the starting lineup. In his third game of his rookie season, Chicago Bulls had to face with Milwaukee Bucks. It has always been a nemesis fight between these two teams, so Michael, he was raining down shots on the court, and he was one of the most important reasons that Chicago Bulls could topple Milwaukee Bucks. The Chicago Bulls won that game, and everyone started to rely heavily on Michael henceforward. You know, the newly drafted NBA players sometimes grind for years to be among their starting lineup. But for Michael, it just took 3 games. The United Center, which used to be a pretty much unpopulated arena, now has a sold out every single game, all thanks to Michael's putting it on a show there. You know, for many, it is the road to glory, but for Michael, it began in glory. He was capable of winning the title of the Rookie of the Year in 1984. On top of that, he was also selected to play among the All-Star team during his rookie year. Wow. And apart from that, he was selected for the slam dunk contest in the All-Star weekend. So, in his first attempt, he did this. Next, he did something even more amazing.
Dazzling repertoire of creative slams put the rookie toe-to-toe.
But in his third attempt, he did something iconic. Something that is going to be remembered.
Oh, 6'6" rookie. Slam, beautiful.
He signified the exact place he wanted to take off, the foul line. And then he flew.
Here comes Michael Jordan.
However, in the final round, MJ was defeated by Dominic Wilkins' 360 jam.
There's Dominic Wilkins.
Of course, he lost as a rookie, but he showed everyone who the real Air Jordan is. In the same year, Converse, which was the main brand of the most prominent NBA players, approached the newly born Michael Jordan in order to create his signature brand of sneakers. Well, Michael really had some redesign in his mind. Basically, he had some criticism about the prototype, but Converse told him that we cannot put you above our current stars like Larry Bird or Magic Johnson. As a result, they couldn't really sign a contract. Jordan liked Adidas himself personally. So the fun thing here, even Adidas approached Jordan the same year. And there's only one thing problematic here, and that thing is Adidas was going through tough times in its cooperation. I mean, in terms of business, the company was not really going through good times. So they told Jordan, honestly speaking, we cannot manufacture any shoes at the moment. As a result, no contract was signed with Adidas too. Back in the 80s, Nike was known for their track sneakers. They also approached Jordan in order to create his signature design sneakers. The thing is, Jordan himself didn't like Nike at all, but his mother really twisted his arm, so you have to go to the Nike meeting. Nike did something smart. They created a video presentation. It was basically a montage of Jordan's slam dunk during the season. They also did one more thing. They created a prototype. A prototype which was pretty much distinctive with almost all sneakers available in the NBA. Why am I telling you the shoe was different? Because back in days, most of these sneakers available in the market and they were allowed to be used in the NBA were white. So adding different colors into the sneaker would be considered as a violation based on the NBA rules. Nike did something bold. They add red color to the sneakers, and Jordan loved it at first sight. They also told Jordan that we're going to pay you with a fine that NBA is going to charge you because of this violation. So they were pretty much impressive in that meeting, to be honest. On top of that, Nike offered $250,000 worth of deal to Michael Jordan in order to sign a contract with them. You know, the funny thing is, back in days, stars like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, they were given like $100,000 for their contract. I mean, for their sneakers contract. But Michael was paid more than double the amount. You know, Nike itself really thinking that they're going to sell around $3 million of this shoe by the end of the year. But amazingly, they sold 126 million in the first year. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is you and this is the Air Jordan 1. Next year, in 1985, Jordan did something spectacular. During the Nike exhibition in Italy, Jordan managed to shatter the glass of the backboard. I mean, there were not so many people in the history that were capable of doing so. A handful of names like Chuck Connors or Gus Johnson. But one thing in particular I need to mention here, the pair of shoes Jordan shattered the glass with, the pair of Air Jordan 1 shoes in that exhibition, were later on auctioned in 2020 for the price of around $615,000, which is a record for the price to be auctioned for a pair of sneakers. In the same year, Jordan had his foot severely broken. It was his third game of his second season that this happened to him. And honestly speaking, he couldn't keep up playing the rest of the season. And once he got recovered enough, the doctors allowed him to play, but they had to put him on a time stretch. The Bulls managed to reach the playoffs despite the MJ's absence. Fortunately, Michael could return for the playoff games, but the bad news is they're going against the almighty Boston Celtics with a starting lineup of the most powerful NBA players, including Larry Bird. The time limit has been lifted, and now the White Dog is unleashed. Michael was going crazy. He couldn't even miss a shot. He was raining scores, raining shots, and gaining those scores for the Chicago Bulls. In fact, that night, Michael broke a record which even stands out today. He managed to break the record of the most points earned during one single playoff game, which was 63 points. Boston was about to lose in their garden. Unfortunately, that year, Boston Celtics took home the championship. Chicago Bulls were jinxed, but Michael showed everyone who wears the pants. Jordan displayed his defensive capabilities. He managed to set a record of earning 200 steals in 100 block shots in one single season. That was a record at the time. So with the help of the Jordan and his tremendous play, they could manage to reach the playoffs the same season, but they were again swept by the almighty Boston Celtics. On top of that, Jordan failed to gain the MVP award that year, and Magic Johnson won the award despite Jordan's relentless effort. For someone like Michael, it's alright. Next season is another chance to shine. With his perseverance and determination, nothing is impossible. But first he has to deal with one problem. A big problem which is rooted back in Detroit. Back in the 80s, Detroit brought up together a group of tough, hard-nosed physical players known as the Bad Boys. Back in the days, the logic of technical foul was distinctive in the NBA. As a result, Detroit developed a unique play style full of physical contact and brutality. These bad boys were fearsome. They wouldn't mind even if they were injuring you severely. All they wanted was the W, even if they had to eat you alive. A lot of people didn't like it because it was taking away the beauty of basketball and turning it into something like a hockey or a football game, no? Chicago Bulls had to make some rearrangements facing these bad boys. So Jerry Cross, the Chicago Bulls general manager, called out for a new head coach. A new head coach that might fit in a team. The thing is, ever since Jordan was drafted, the Chicago Bulls has already changed like 2 head coaches. So they were hoping that this time, with Doc Collins' lead and Jordan's capabilities, they could finally bring home the W. In fact, Michael and Collins developed such close intimacy that during his coaching time, Michael could manage to obtain his first MVP of the league award, first MVP award of the All-Star Games, first the Best Defensive Player of the League award, and he could win his first championship in the dunk contest that year. This is a big milestone achieved by Air Jordan. Under the supervision of Coach Doc Collins, the Bulls were rapidly growing, and soon they were among the powers of the conference. some teams like Cleveland or Detroit Pistons. It was one of the toughest games for Chicago Bulls. The game was going back and forth, and everyone was grinding for the W. It was a 2-2 with Bulls and Cavaliers, so the winning of this game would in fact facing Detroit Pistons and going to the finals. Michael did something spectacular, which is today known as the shot.
Comes into Jordan. Here's Michael in the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win!
It is one of the top 5 buzzer beaters of all time in the history of the NBA. And the Cavaliers are defeated in the Richfield Coliseum. Chicago Bulls are off to the next round. They're facing Detroit Pistons. So it is the underdog Chicago Bulls and Detroit Pistons in the conference finals.
Between the underdog Chicago Bulls and the favored Detroit Pistons.
Michael didn't really like Detroit Pistons. He believed that these people were not only playing fair, but also they were making it personal every single game. So the Bulls won the first game. The second game, Detroit took home the W. In the third game, again Chicago Bulls won with Michaels putting on a show, so it was a neck-to-neck competition so far. It was now or never. Otherwise, Detroit Pistons were going to be the losers. How are they going to bounce back? Well, they came up with this specific idea to detain Jordan. They call it the Jordan rules. The whole point was to detain Jordan on the scoring. They didn't want him to take off, and they want to really put pressure on him either physically or mentally. So they want to, in fact, wear Jordan out. And the whole point was not to let him go to the air. So they had to make a double team or even triple team sometimes to put him on the ground. The whole point was to keep Jordan away from the basket. Now you may wonder, what if Jordan managed to reach the basket?
That's when Lampier and Mahorn would go up and knock him down to the ground.
The Bulls lost the game and obviously lost the conference championship, so Detroit won the league championship that year.
They're going down in the record books as one of the greatest defensive teams ever in the history of this league.
It was a devastating elimination for the Chicago Bulls as a franchise and for Jordan personally.
Chicago Bulls head coach was fired in a surprise move yesterday.
So that season they fired Doug Collins and they decided to promote Phil Jackson, which was Doug Collins' coach assistant at the time, into the head coach. But the thing is, right now they have a new coach, but if Detroit Pistons keep using that Jordan rules strategy and detain Jordan, how are they going to topple them? Phil Jackson was truly a great coach. So he was so sick of this Jordan rules strategy, who was suppressing Michael, holding him down on the floor. Everyone on the team loved Phil Jackson, so he decided to bring up with this new strategy, a counter-strike to the Jordan rules called the triangle offense. Well, in fact, triangle offense is an old-fashioned strategy in basketball, but Coach Phil Jackson had an assistant called Tex Winter, and his assistant evolved this triangle offensive strategy into a modern way, which can be implemented in today's NBA world, you know. In fact, Tex Winter was a genius at the time. Before, the whole team was too much reliant on Michael. I mean, the whole strategy was just give the ball to Michael and let him cook. But from now on, it was going to be different. All the Chicago Bulls were going to be united, known as a team, not just one Michael Jordan. The triangle offense is a set so that there's a key pass which creates motion, and out of that one key pass, there's going to be 33 different other options that player can take and choose spontaneously, so they can play more creatively, you know. The thing is, everyone on the team started to learn about that strategy, and honestly speaking, it was paying off. So this year, another confrontation with the Detroit Pistons is going to happen.
And we know that the challenge of the Detroit Pistons is immense. And it's one that we've been waiting for all season long.
This has turned into something personal for the angry Bulls.
Play hard. Let's go. Leave it all on the floor. Let's go.
and the Chicago Bulls could finally swept Detroit Pistons with 4-0 series. It is now the NBA Finals. It is the air and the magic show. Ever since Jordan was drafted and playing for the Chicago Bulls, he found it hard to be among the stars in the NBA like Larry Bird. He wanted to fit in the big picture, that big frames, like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, these stars. So in order to obtain that, he had to win a championship, which hadn't taken place yet. So this year, it had to be done. He has to get to his goal this time. Chicago Bulls lost their first game in the United Center. So in the second game, it was now or never for real. Jordan didn't want to lose this match. This opportunity was the time for him to outshine Magic Johnson. So he put his heart and soul into the second game. And he won the second game. One of the main reasons that they won the game was Scottie Pippen, who was really putting it on a show with his defensive effort, playing a full court D on the Lakers that time. Chicago managed to win the game 3, so now they're extending the lead to 2-1. Next game, they could add one more victory. Now they're extending the gap to 3-1. It is now game 5. Chicago has this opportunity to bring home the trophy for real this time. Up until the fourth quarter, everything was going neck to neck until Coach Phil Jackson called out a timeout. So Coach Phil Jackson turned out to Jordan and say, "You're usually double team. Who's open?" Jordan replied, "Paxson's open." Then Coach Phil Jackson said without any hesitation, "Give him the ball." So in fact, Jordan put his trust into the Paxson, and the Bulls could win the game. Jordan finally learned that basketball is more inclusive than the exclusive. This is what exactly Phil Jackson wanted to make Jordan realize over the past 2 years, and he was successful. Michael was so happy holding the trophy that he couldn't stop his tears. From that time onward, the whole Chicago Bulls started to enter a new era called the first three-peat, in fact. All thanks to Michael Jordan's relentless effort and Coach Phil Jackson's genius idea of triangle offense. Michael was first pretty much reluctant to accept this new strategy. He was citing himself that once Coach Phil Jackson told him, "Hey Michael, there's no I in team." And Michael told him that, "But there's an I in win."
There's no I in team. I say text it not. It's not an I in team, but it's an I in win.
This shows how much his bad mentality was toward this new plan. But this new plan finally paid off. In 1991-1992 NBA season, Chicago Bulls had to face with New York Knicks first. After overcoming them, they have to face in the conference final with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then, in the finals, they need to face Portland Trail Blazers. And they could finally topple Portland and become the champion of the NBA that season. With Jordan being entitled as the MVP of the league for the second consecutive time in a row. I've always thought that Jordan is actually a star who is typically praised by other stars in the basketball world. I've never thought that he would have a beef with someone. And honestly speaking, this is true. Jordan had a beef with one particular player in the whole league of the NBA. And that player is Isiah Thomas. You may wonder why. Because first off, Isiah Thomas was the captain of Bad Boys, those tough, hard-nosed players that I described to you earlier. On top of that, it was not Jordan that was really struggling with this Isiah Thomas guy. There were many prominent NBA stars like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Scottie Pippen. They really didn't like Isiah Thomas, because of the brutality Bad Boys were putting in the show. And don't let me get started of Jordan rules that they were crafted specifically to detain Jordan. So all these things combined, it leads to a hatred between the league of the NBA, bad boys, and particularly the captain of those bad boys, Isiah Thomas. Playing with Pistons, Jordan was literally beaten, physically beaten down the court. So Coach Phil Jackson obliged Jordan, you have to build more muscles and bulk up. So Jordan put his heart and soul into bulking up and building more muscles as he was supposed to. But one thing I need you to know, last year when Chicago Bulls toppled Detroit Pistons, they wouldn't even shake hands at the end of the game. With 8 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter, Detroit Pistons left the arena. It is the 1992 Barcelona Olympic Games, and the United States decided to all in and show off with its dream team. A team of Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Clyde Drexler, Karl Malone, and definitely Michael Jordan. But for sure, no Isiah Thomas, because many players said if he shows up, we're out. But among the teams down in the Barcelona Olympic Games, there was one particular team who was considering as the competition for the USA because they were second in power. That was Croatia. Back in days, Croatia managed to brought up together a good basketball team in the world. Among those stars, they had one particular young talent named Toni Kukoč, a 6'10" power forward.
33-point victory. Pippen also holding Toni Kukoč to 4 points.
And the United States won the 92 Olympics gold medal. To be honest, Jerry Krause, the general manager of the Chicago Bulls, decided to go and negotiate with this young talent in order to get him for his team.
Tony's certainly an outstanding young prospect.
But the thing is, the Chicago Bulls already had a power forward called Scottie Pippen, so this was rubbing a lot of players on the wrong way in the team. In order to suppress that, Michael Jordan and Pippen played a tight D on poor Toni Kukoč that game. They were in fact making the whole game an inferno for that young talent. You may wonder, why am I telling you all this stuff? Why should you know about the story of Toni Kukoč? The thing is, many problems of the Chicago Bulls and Jerry Krause started on this day and this scene.
The second round, the Chicago Bulls select Toni Kukoč.
After last year's Olympic, Michael started to be an international figure. Everyone on the planet knew who Michael was. So the United States is back to the America and the season is going on. But I want you to know one thing about Michael personally. Michael was drawn to gambling. He really loved gambling, and he and his father together sometimes would go to casinos or gambling over golf games. Once there was a golf hustler called Slim Bowler. He was arrested, and the FBI was doing some investigation, and they found a check from Jordan to Slim Bowler worth $57,000, around this number it was. So during the investigation, they asked Jordan, why did you pay this guy this amount of money? Jordan was present in his trial, and initially he claimed that it was a loan from a friend to another, but during the trial he said, I lost this money to him over gambling. This started to spread around negatively, and the public view was deteriorating about Michael. So, to be honest, Michael, in order to clear the air, he had to say this to the camera in order to finish these rumors up.
Losing the game situation, whatever, just to get my mind away from the game of basketball. I couldn't go play golf, so I rode up there with my family and my friends.
In the history of NBA, there were numerous teams capable of winning 2 consecutive championships. Isiah Thomas had his chance, Magic Johnson had his chance, but having 3 consecutive championships, that's what distinguishes you from others. And Jordan, right now at this time of the history, has his chance to win 3 consecutive championships. In order to do that, they have to topple Phoenix Suns.
Barkley behind the back. Barkley revolving to the right. Jordan around Kukoč.
is able to go. The Chicago Bulls have made it 3 straight NBA championships.
And the Chicago Bulls could win their first three-peat. Congratulations! On July 23, 1993, Jordan's father went MIA somewhere in a highway in North Carolina, and all that was left of him was his crashed Lexus, while their license plates were missing. After a while, his body was found in a river close to where his crashed car was found in North Carolina. Well, it's true, James Jordan is dead. Michael Jordan's father has been passed away, and the rumors about his death is spreading around like a wildfire. Some people, they're claiming that, okay, James Jordan died due to his son's gambling and, these stuff. Others would say that Jordan was threatened of losing his loved ones as family members because he keeps winning championships and it makes the NBA boring for every other team. But based on the evidence that officially was announced by the FBI, he was being robbed the night he was lost. I mean, he was down the road to the North Carolina and he was feeling tired, so he pulled over and he said, all right, I'm going to have some time resting. And there were two guys called Larry DeMary and Daniel Green, two, in fact, teenagers. They were around 18 or 19 years old. That they found this guy sleeping in a luxurious car, such as a brand new Lexus. So they said, let's just rob him off. They first wanted to rob him off, that was true, but James Jordan started to resist and they shot him to the chest, and James Jordan is dead. They wouldn't know who is this guy that they killed. Once they were searching his car, James Jordan had one of his son's championship rings. Michael Jordan gave it to him. Once they did this, they committed this crime, they realized that they just killed a father of the most prominent NBA player in the country. Both Green and DeMary were accused of first-degree murder and were sentenced to spend a lifetime in prison. But I want you to know one small thing. After around 30 years, they're claiming to be not guilty.
I did not kill James Jordan. I've never killed anybody.
Green claims that they were both forced to accept the accusation, and his partner in crime, DeMary, was in fact compelled to have a testimony against him. So they're pleading to be not guilty, and they're not the one who has to be sentenced to a lifetime. Well, it's hard to be the judge of that, but for sure, rest in peace, James Jordan.
And there's high speculation and report that Michael Jordan will retire from basketball forever.
Yes, you heard it right. Michael's not going to stick around anymore in the basketball world. This has turned into the heart of the press all over the world, as soon as he pointed out.
News will carry Michael Jordan's announcement live.
Shocking revelation tonight for all Chicagoans.
The Bulls have confirmed that Michael Jordan will announce his retirement effective immediately.
But the question is, why? All eyes were pinned on TV to see if this is true or still a rumor.
The word retire means you can do anything you want from this day on.
The question of why, at that time, there were numerous rumors revolving around this Michael's decision. Some would say David Stern suspended him from the league because of his scandals of gambling and his father's death, which is not really true. It broke Michael's heart. Some others, they said mob groups, in fact, threatened Michael to just step away from the basketball world because of the one-man show he was putting on every single game. The NBA was getting boring, in fact. But based on Michael, he said, I am tired physically and mentally of this stardom. I want to step away from this drama and have my own time. He was emotionally destroyed. He just lost his father. Michael and his father was very close. You guys have seen for sure that Michael, whenever he wants to do something legendary on the court, he sticks out his tongue. And if you guys wonder why, because this is exactly what he picked it up from his father. His father used to do the same move when he was absorbed by life and by challenges of life at work, so he decided to adopt it to his own as a signature move. After some months of retirement, words on the street was Jordan has joined the MLB, Major League Baseball. He signed a contract, in fact, with the Chicago White Sox, which is basically a baseball team. Michael's childhood dream has always been to be a baseball superstar, but for now he's not, and he decided to just pursue that dream. Honestly speaking, people were very happy to see Michael back on TV, so they were even happy to see him in a baseball. Why not? They were laying down on the ground to see Michael on the baseball field, which is very funny for me. While Michael was enjoying his time, he couldn't shine as radiant as he used to in the basketball. He had numerous breaking balls while playing baseball, and for those of you who are not aware what a breaking ball is, it means a failed attempt at swinging the ball once it's thrown at you. So honestly speaking, guys, Mike couldn't really be that professional baseball player. It's hard. You're a rookie in one particular sport, but people expect you to shine. But Michael's perseverance and grinding to success and to grow is in fact something that you can make an example of. Back in the United Center, the Chicago Bulls had to move on, even with a void filled by Michael's absence. Now, while Michael's gone, Scottie Pippen had more chance to shine because he ain't a second fiddle anymore, The Chicago Bulls could manage to reach to the playoffs even without Michael. Back in 1994, the MLB Major League Baseball, strike took place. Well, this is a story to tell for itself someday, but to put it in a nutshell, I can tell you that the team owners wanted to put salary cap for their professional players, and this has led to the biggest strike in the baseball league. Michael really didn't want to be a part of this drama. He wanted to step aside from such dramas. That's why he left the basketball at first place. So he said, I'm going to quit baseball, and Michael is back.
We no longer have to endure life without Michael. The drought is over. Jordan is back.
He's back to the basketball world once again. All basketball players were happy to hear Michael's back, especially people from Chicago. Can MJ really lead the Chicago Bulls to another championship? Let's find out. People were going crazy about his first match against Indiana Pacers.
MJ's in town! Who needs tickets? 4 together.
Michael decided to not wear his iconic 23 jersey anymore.
Michael Jordan has returned and he's wearing number 45.
So, he just made this decision because he wanted to step away from the memories of this number. His father's loss and stuff, So he decided to keep going the new start with his new jersey, number 45, as he used to wear in his baseball team. Basically, he wasn't really feeling good. His shooting precision was inadequate, he was wearing his shorts on backward. It wasn't his best game. He could only earn 19 points in that game, and the Bulls lost that game. 6 days later, their next match is against the Atlanta Hawks, and the Jordan's engine is ignited. Next, they have a game against New York Knicks, and Jordan could put on a tremendous show, scoring 55 points in one match. Wow.
4 of 5. Jordan starts out on fire.
The Bulls had to face the Orlando Magics in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Back then, Orlando used to have many stars. A star like Grant, who used to wear the Chicago Bulls jersey last season, Shaquille O'Neal, a new face in the NBA, which was truly a star back then, and many more. Final minutes of the game, and the Chicago is leading by 1. And then, this happened.
Michael's got the ball in his hands, not any longer. Penny.
Yes, Michael's ball was stolen. His ball was stolen, and it's unbelievable. The final minutes, everyone said, alright, it's fine, just Michael lost the ball, he's going to have one of those legendary buzzer beaters as he usually do. But as people were thinking like this happened. Yep, what you saw was real, ladies and gentlemen. Michael just tossed the ball out of bounds. After that game, everyone said, all right, this number 45 is not that number 23 who he used to be and the stuff, the rumors were going around, and this was really hurting Michael. So in the next game, he changed his jersey from 45 to 23 once again. Chicago won the next game with Jordan scoring 38 points. But the truth is, guys, Jordan wasn't really ready enough. I mean, at first place, he didn't know many of his new teammates, so he lacked chemistry. Apart from that, his muscles were weakened, especially his legs. And as you guys know, a basketball player need to have strong legs. So Jordan and the Chicago Bulls couldn't really proceed to the finals that year, and they were eliminated. It's 1995 and it's summer break. So Michael was pushing himself so hard to get prepared for the next season. Meanwhile, he was creating an animation Space Jam for the Warner Brothers. The fun fact here is Warner Brothers, in fact, built a personal space for Michael Jordan to train also for his, personal NBA stuff, you know. So Michael had the shooting starting from 6 or 7 in the morning. Then the shooting would be proceeding up until 7 in the afternoon. After that, without any hesitation, Michael started to practice in ball with his friends. And at the end of the day, he started to do weight training with his personal coach. Again, he has to go to the work tomorrow at 6 or 7. Dude, this guy spelled perseverance and determination word by word. However, the next season, once it started, the Chicago Bulls had a whole new rosters on the team except Michael and Scottie Pippen. So they were ready from the jump ball to the last final buzzer of the game. They had Dennis Rodman, a strong defensive power forward at the time. They had Steve Kerr, who is a slippery point guard. And they had Michael and Scottie, and yours truly, Tony Kukoč. They were so ready that they could lose only 13 games and won 69 games in one regular season. In fact, they were breaking a record in that season. In the history of the NBA. Honestly speaking, by the end of the regular season, they could manage to win 72 games and lost 10 games, which was a record and probably is a record today. And with such tremendous performance, they were for sure going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And guess who are they matching against?
The Conference Finals is between the Orlando Magic and your Chicago Bulls.
And the Bulls swept the Orlando Magic, retaliating their previous year's major loss.
That's what Dennis did.
With that in mind, now they have to face Seattle Supersonics, which is today currently known as the Oklahoma City Thunders. The series was a stretch to Game 6, with the Bulls leading by 1. And the Bulls added another championship to their Wall of Fame.
My wife, to my kids, to my mother, my brothers and sisters. This is my daddy. I'm very happy for you.
Despite the fact that the Utah Jazz was experiencing their first appearance in the NBA Finals, they had one star, Karl Malone, who happens to be the MVP of the year. And the Bulls won Game 1 with Michael's absolute sensational buzzer beater. The series was a stretch to 2-2. And the night before Game 5, Chicago Bulls were spending their time in a hotel in Utah. So Michael craves pizza. And it was around 11 p.m., so the hotel they were staying in didn't have any services. So they had to go out, find the only pizza shop around which was open, and order pizza for Michael. And the pizza shop knew that Michael is going to receive this pizza, so 5 guys showed up to deliver this pizza to Michael in order to probably hoping that they could see Michael up close. You know, Michael had the whole pizza by himself alone since he was craving it. And around 2 a.m., he was feeling feverish. He was puking left and right and having severe stomach aches. The doctors diagnosed him with food poisoning. The game was then to be known as the flu game. But the fun fact is, despite his bad physical condition, Michael could score 38 points in just 44 minutes.
He's back, putting the move on Chris Mars. Clutch moves on Hornacek.
Man, tell me about tenacity. And the Bulls won the game despite losing the early game. But this one for sure is not over. The Bulls are back in the Delta Center, Salt Lake City. Last year, Jazz were defeated here, and they couldn't lose the NBA championship.
This is the litmus test.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Delta Center. And the thing that's really surprising, Cole, it's sad, and if you really think about this, performance and loyalty by the...
And the Bulls starting out sharply, lead 8-2. Here is Rodman after Pippen got the loose ball, and Jordan hit the open shot. And it's a 47-24 lead. The Chicago Bulls are running the Jazz while on the Jazz. Foul is going to be called.
You could see that this could ignite something here that we don't.
Karl Malone.
Dennis, there it is.
Down goes Malone and Rodman in a double. The Jazz with a 7-0 run of their own here. Malone over Pippen. He's got it.
He's got it. He's right.
He's on that. Yeah. Utah Jazz ending up sweeping the Chicago Bulls this year, winning here in Salt Lake City.
Bulls this year, they're really grinding to win. But this year, there's one particular thing different. Jerry Krause announced before the game that Coach Phil Jackson is not going to be the head coach next season, and Michael Jordan has claimed he won't play for anyone other than Phil.
Phil should be the head coach, and I shouldn't be put in a position to have to make a choice to play for another coach.
Jerry Krause told the Chicago Tribune, if Michael chooses to leave because there's another coach here, then it's his choice, not ours. We would love to have Michael back, but Michael is going to play for someone else. It isn't going to be Phil. Yep, you heard it right. Phil Jackson's not going to be the Chicago Bulls head coach for the next season, and Michael said this.
If Phil's not back, then certainly I'm not back. So, I mean, it doesn't leave me with any other choices but not to play next year.
But you may wonder, why would Jerry Krause decide such thing, or why would Phil Jackson want to leave after earning around 6 championships or being the head coach of the Chicago Bulls for around 9 years? What's going on in this franchise? Is he truly quitting, or is he being fired? For now, let's head over to the 1998 NBA Finals. This year they're here with the memory and experience of their previous loss. So let the game begin.
This Utah team is vastly improved from last year's finalists. Better skills and much more confident.
Let's get ready to
up with the shot to tie the game. And it's overtime in game 1. 21 for Malone. Goes to Utah in overtime. Hornacek on Michael. Fade away. Got it. Kukoč hits off the baseline. Pippen slices through the defensive slam. With the shot clock winding down against Hornacek. Michael's going to do it. 2 defenders. A whistle. Chicago comes into Salt Lake City. A3. Have a great game.
Stay up the dog.
Stay healthy, guys. Isley has it blocked by Harper. Jordan to Michael. Wrapped up by beaten by 42. Chicago leads the series 2-1.
Anxiety, a little tightness here in Chicago, Doug. It may be a lack of focus. Come out and play a game.
Malone, 39 points. Pippen out to Kukoč for 3. He hits it. Into Jordan, a prayer. We go to Utah.
The series was extended to 3-2 with Chicago leading by 1. In Game 6, Utah was mainly leading the game up until the fourth quarter that the gap was closing. But one thing in particular happened. At the beginning of the game, Scottie Pippen had his back jammed, so there were somehow 4 people in the court playing against 5 other.
Cross-court Stockton, a 3, it's there!
The Bulls called a timeout. And since this is Michael's last dance, he's going to put his heart and soul into the game. Ladies and gents, you're about to see one of the greatest 30 seconds you've ever seen in any sports. The Bulls decided to go for a 2-for-1. Michael cuts their lead to 1. Utah is attacking and a Stockton pass to Karl Malone is intercepted. Oh man, only 17 seconds were left to the buzzer. Air Jordan is carrying the ball.
Game, you gotta get it out of his hands. He's a killer.
And just like that, 5 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter, Chicago has taken the lead with Michael's perfect crossover shot. Bill Russell, the Utah Jazz point guard, claimed that Michael pushed him. However, this has never been approved by the game officials. It was clearly a professional ankle breaker. Utah called a timeout. Obviously, the best shot was a Stockton. And the Bulls marked the second three-peat by toppling Utah Jazz in the United Center. This would probably be the Michael's last dance either in United Center or probably in the NBA. That game holds the record of television views of any other games in the NBA. Ever since that game forward, the NBA itself was more well known to the people of the world. But what the hell is going on? Why on earth the Chicago Bulls franchise shouldn't persist and ask Phil Jackson to stay in the team, who's upon his departure, most of his stars going to leave? Well, the story is a bit intertwined. First off, just know this fact that Jerry Cross didn't really like Phil Jackson. He believed that most of the credits that is given out to the Chicago Bulls is going directly to Phil Jackson and not to the franchise. He believed that it was him who made Phil Jackson a coach at first place. He was nothing but a coach assistant before that. Apart from that, Reinsdorf, the owner of the Chicago Bulls in the Last Dance documentary, claimed that the market value of their players were too high and they couldn't afford it anymore.
Their market value individually was going to be too high.
That's why they had to rebuild the whole team.
We realized that we were going to have to go into a rebuild.
He even claimed that he talked to the coach Phil Jackson regarding his staying in the team. But Jordan has something on the contrary. He said that at the beginning of '98 season, Jerry Cross announced the whole team that Coach Phil Jackson is not going to be your head coach next season, even if you win every single game this season. Well, you may know the truth. Anyway, after that final championship, the whole team was reformed. Phil Jackson was replaced, Michael Jordan got back into retirement, Scottie Pippen and Steve Kerr were traded, and Steve Rodman was released, and the whole team started to rebuild. After the Kings' retirement, it is true that the Bulls are now history, but the NBA was proceeding. There were numerous new stars in the NBA, people like Tim Duncan, Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Steve Nash, Kevin Garnett. These people were all new stars of the NBA. I mean, yes, Jordan was retired and trying to step away from basketball world, but he was observing these new faces closely. In 2000, he announced that he's going to be in the front office of the Washington Wizards. He was considered as a part owner and the operation manager. I mean, he basically was responsible for something like the drafts, the coaching decisions, and the stuff, you know. You know, it looks like Jordan is more interested to be involved in running a franchise than being a warrior on the battlefield. In 2010, he purchased Charlotte Hornets, which back in the days they were called Charlotte Bobcats. He was considered as a majority owner, paying around $275 million. But let's get back to our story. So Jordan is now in charge of the front office of the Washington Wizards, which was considered back in time the second worst team of the NBA. They were struggling not only the previous season, but also this struggle has been going on for some time now. Last time they could show themselves up in the playoffs was in 1982, so this team was at its worst, and now Jordan's responsible to turn this team around. MJ had to make a lot of changes. In the first step, he decided to draft Kwame Brown. Despite the fact that Kwame Brown was selected in the first round of the first pick in the 2001 draft, it could never meet the expectation and be that shining star. Next, Jordan decided to invite an old friend to the team, Doc Collins, the coach he loved the most during his career. So Doc Collins, once he was invited by Jordan, he had stepped away from the coaching world for around 3 years and he started to be in a broadcasting business. But once he heard Jordan's running front office, he was more than happy to accept this offer. But this still wasn't feel enough. In order to be that champion, the Washington Wizards leading by Jordan, he had to make another decision. Then he decided to do this. He decided to return to basketball after 3 years of stepping away from it. Jordan's right now 40 years old, and they say an old lion still roars. So, Jordan's now back into the business, but before that he has to resign from his management position because there's no other way around it. If he wanted to be a player, he shouldn't have to be in the front office. He had a 2-year contract with Washington Wizards, and he said that he's intended to donate his first year's contract to 9/11 victims. Once again, the king is back to the court. Once again, the sales are skyrocketing, and everyone would be feeling it is like 90s.
At guard from North Carolina, number 23, Michael Jordan.
Wizards were down by 3 and there were 20 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The whole team was relying on Jordan to tie the game. Well, that didn't go in a way that Jordan expected.
Michael Jordan with Whitney's have the hot hand. Wizards down by 3. Jordan for the tie.
Once Jordan claimed that he's coming back to the basketball world, the public view about this was controversial. Some believed that Jordan should have never done that at first place. Some were over the moon hearing this news that Jordan's back on the court again. Anyway, that was the first game. It was not a good game, but don't let that thing fool ya. During his first season as a Wizard, he executed quite magnificent stats, averaging 22.9 points per game, to go along with 5.7 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and 1.4 steals. Unfortunately, Jordan couldn't finish up his season. Jordan collided with one of his teammates, resulting in severely injuring his knee. So he had to go for a knee surgery and spend the rest of the season watching his teammates from the bench. So in fact, the stats I told you earlier was for half of a season. And as you guys notice, his half a season's stats were something similar to his last performance in 1998. Well, the thing is, Jordan was a superstar of a very bad team. And he proved that he can return to the basketball world anytime he wants, like riding a bike. Well, the real last dance ended up with Mariah Carey singing to honor Michael Jordan during the 2003 All-Star Games, and this was the last time anyone seen Michael Jordan on the floor as a basketball player ever. The path to success is rarely smooth, and only those with unshakable resilience can reach the highest peaks. If there's one powerful lesson to take from Michael Jordan's life, it's this: Failures are, in the end, their stepping stone to greatness. His journey proves that pain, loss, and doubt are as small as an ant when you keep your eyes fixed on a prize. Strive to improve no matter how many times you fall short, because success isn't about never failing, it's about never giving up. This isn't just the story of Michael Jordan, it's the story of what it truly means to carry on. Ladies and gentlemen, the flight may have ended, but the legacy that soars forever.